A quadruple header, that's 4, of NBA playoff action tonight on a Tuesday around the association. 3 games coming from the Eastern Conference and their opening round sets. All 3 of those, a series clinching potential for the team that, of course, holds the 3-1 series lead and maintains home floor advantage in game number 5 tonight. The other 5th game, DRS, is perhaps our most competitive opening round set so far in the NBA playoffs. It has been wild. It has been crazy. We have seen overtime. We have seen a pure buzzer beater. And we see a series tied at 2 games all. That's in the Western Conference split, the 4-5 matchup. The Denver Nuggets back at altitude hosting the Los Angeles Clippers tonight. Again, both teams, 2 wins so far in this series. And yet, DRS, Denver returns home in game 5, having taken game number 4 on the road in LA just a few nights ago. The Aaron Gordon putback, the buzzer beater to give Denver the victory. And the Nuggets, winning a game in LA, now head home to Mile High, where they're a 2-point home dog in game number 5, reclaiming home court advantage. Does that number seem justified to you?
It doesn't. And by the way, might not have the graphic up. What is the current, or if you have it, Ben, behind the scenes there, what's the current price here for the series as the favorite?
You have it too, by the way. It's right there.
There we go. All right. So we get the Clippers minus 164, which is absolutely ridiculous. I don't understand this because I'm just going back to the opening of the series. We were even at 0-0 with game number 1 in Denver. And the Nuggets were like a minus 117, something like that, up to minus 120 favorite. So now we're saying in a condensed series, which the last game you just saw the Nuggets win, so they staved off that 3-1 lead. Now it's 2-2. That it's way worse at this point. Like, what have we been watching in the series? I don't understand. And also, answer me this: you saw the previous game where you had a huge lead in the fourth quarter by the Nuggets. They gave that lead away and still won it. If the Nuggets won by 15 plus, are the Nuggets minus 164 to win the series? I'm very confused about the pricing overall of how we made our way to now. Because remember me being upset, like, man, missed that game number 3 or game number 4. I wanted to take the series price with the Nuggets before that because after they won. Now, granted, the price was higher, but now I'm like, oh, you know what? Lost that. The Nuggets are now probably favored at minus 150. No, it's the opposite. I can't make heads or tails of why we got this line. Do we know that Jokic's going to fall down the first quarter and sprain his ankle and be out the rest of the way? There's no way the price should be this high for home court advantage and now a condensed best of 3 for the Clippers. Yeah. I don't get it.
The Nuggets need 2 home victories, which you would think at altitude home floor advantage should be possible. Denver is a home underdog tonight. DRS, just to try to make sense of where these series odds have been, what it has meant for each and every individual game so far. Denver opened as an ever so slight outright favorite in this 4-5 split. But by the time we got to game 1, now 2 weekends ago, despite the Nuggets being a 2.5, 3.5 point home favorite for that opening game of this opening round set, LA was a minus 118 slight series outright favorite to win this first round playoff series. They lose game 1 in OT despite covering as that slight underdog. The Clippers were favored to win game 2, but Denver, with the 1-0 series advantage, was now a series outright favorite. So for the second time in as many games, the team that was favored to win the individual game was the series underdog. That didn't really stack up. The Clippers take game number 2 in Denver, right? They go then home to LA with the series outright favored number in their way, and the series tied at a game apiece. The Clippers absolutely rout Denver by 20-plus points in game number, by 30-plus points in game number 3. This looks as though the Clippers might truly have the advantage. But Denver answers, despite blowing a 19-point fourth quarter lead. Denver ends up winning that game, and that's all that counts. And now the Nuggets regain home floor advantage. I'm not so sure why Denver is a home underdog tonight. I am certainly not sure why the odds look as that in the way they do. Donnie, what is the shortest price for us, the most likely duration of this series? 7 games in minus money. Who would have home floor advantage in a winner-take-all 7th game? Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets.
Exactly. That's why it's just, and again, we are oddsmen. We look at the lines, which is like, man, you just better take the Clippers. That's such an outlandish line where the smartest man in the room probably is the odds maker. But I'm trying to buck that trend in this one. It just hasn't made sense. And this coming from a guy that liked the Clippers game number 1 to win this series. Yeah. But now I look at the price points that I want to bet, and it's not the Clippers.
I have a Clippers series outright bet, and I agree. More around the NBA next. We will have plenty more thoughts on the Clippers and the Nuggets entering game number 5 in a series tied at 2-2 just a little bit later in the show. But DRS, a quadruple header of NBA playoff games on this Tuesday. That means 4, and it starts early. So DRS is pretty fired up. 6 p.m. Eastern time in Indianapolis. Our 3 other games tonight, series clinching potential in game 5. Let's start in Indy. The Pacers an 8-point favorite against the Milwaukee Bucks. We got official confirmation yesterday that sadly and unfortunately for Dame and the Bucks, he suffered a ruptured Achilles in game number 4. Not only, of course, is he out for the remainder of however long this playoff run lasts for Milwaukee, but his status for 2025-26 is certainly in doubt. So tonight's game 5 really could be the end of an era for the Bucks, a failed experiment of 2 seasons with Dame and Giannis in Milwaukee. If it comes to a close tonight, the Pacers an 8-point favorite, DRS at home inside the Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Do you give Giannis and the Bucks much of a chance to even keep this game close?
Here's a tough one. And again, we look for correlations, which we think will make sense. We thought that the Houston Rockets, there's no way they can win that basketball game if Jalen Green doesn't play well. He stunk. They actually still covered the spread, which was pretty impressive. You take a look at the Miami Heat game last night. Where would the correlation be in that one? Hey, look, if you're going to have any heart in this game, it better be in the first half here. And Tyler Hero / Bam Adebayo better have great games. Tyler Hero was a -44 in that game. I don't expect that same type of output for Giannis Antetokounmpo because I think he truly is a dominant player. And no matter what happens around his team, his statistics will be there. So for me, looking at the point spread and saying, Donnie, you're confident that the Pacers can cover 8 points. Not necessarily, because I still think there is a DNA for the Bucks. It's like we're world champions. We won it a couple of years ago. Yeah. I'm Giannis Antetokounmpo. I'm still a top 5, top 10 player. And put this on my shoulders, I'll be able to ball out. You look at his price point here for his points prop at the FanDuel Sportsbook, man, it's 33.5. He could score 33.5 in this game without Damian Lillard and then still get beat by double digits and go home. That's me. That's the correlation. Like, I'd rather just take Giannis and say, I know this guy, Ben, is going to shoot 25 times tonight. I know he's going to shoot 18 free throws. Can he make them? Sure. I know he's going to shoot 3 or 4 3-point shots. Can he drop a few of those? So my correlation tonight is not necessarily loving the Bucks. It's just that I know I'm not going to get a Tyler Hero performance tonight out of Giannis Antetokounmpo. I can trust the Greek Freak tonight to get into the 30s or close to the 30s to give me a legitimate chance to hit his points prop in this one. That's the way I go. And also understand this. Some of the other bench guys better get involved as well, because Damian Lillard, when he's healthy and playing 30-plus minutes, that's 15-plus shot attempts or more in a game. Those shots will now be able to be spread out. Is it a Bobby Portis? Is it a game that gets out of reach where still the bench players are playing in the late third quarter and fourth quarter? But for me, it's centered around Giannis. Giannis to be in the 30s, I would be shocked if he winds up with 25 or less in this game tonight.
In the Pacers' 3 wins in this series, they have covered as a slight favorite in every one. They were about a 6.5-point favorite, 5.5-point favorite for game 1. They won that game by 19 points. Of course, that was the only full game without Damian Lillard for Milwaukee so far in this series. They closed as only a 4-point favorite in game number 2. They won that game by 8 despite Dame's return. Milwaukee did show some life, winning game number 3 by 16. But then, of course, with Damian Lillard getting injured early in the opening quarter in game number 4, Indiana won that game by 26 points. The Pacers were a slight underdog. They won outright as a 4.5-point dog in game 4. This is an 8-point spread. It's by far the largest we have seen in favor of the Pacers in this series. DRS, I know Indiana's going to win this game. Can Milwaukee stay close? Maybe, but I completely agree with you. How about a Giannis reduced ever so slightly specific same-game parlay? 30-plus points, 20-plus rebounds at -108. Might seem juicy. It's really
Wait,
not.
What?
Giannis has scored, what?
30-plus points and 20-plus boards.
30-plus points, 12-plus rebounds. Did I say 20-plus?
Oh, okay.
12-plus
Yeah, I was like,
rebounds.
whoa,
Sorry
like
if I
that
did.
price point is wild. Yeah, okay, good. Okay,
Yeah.
yep, I could see
I
it
don't know.
there.
Yeah, at least 12 rebounds for Giannis Antetokounmpo in all 4 games so far in this series against Indiana. At least 28 points in all 4 as well. 34 or more in the first 3 games of this series. You know he is going to get to those numbers tonight. Can anybody else help him? We shall see. In large part, DRS, of course, Dame did not play in game 1. Dame barely played in game number 4 after suffering the Achilles injury. The starters outside of Giannis, outside of Dame, combined for 15 points in game number 4, 14 points in game number 1. Meanwhile, the Pacers have been incredibly balanced in all 3 wins in this series. Indiana has had 6 guys score in double digits. All right, next game up might be our most competitive of our Game 5s tonight in the Eastern Conference. The New York Knicks back inside Madison Square Garden, looking to win the opening round playoff series for a 3rd consecutive season. 5.5-point favorite tonight against the Pistons. Detroit, DRS, has led in the 4th quarter in each of our 2 games so far inside the Mecca. Can they get it done again tonight to at least make this game close and maybe stave off elimination?
It's again, we're talking about the mental psyche of teams. Like the Miami Heat were obviously checked out by the time that game started in game number 4. They got blasted right off the court. Also, we just talked about the Bucks and the Pacers series. We understand the Pacers have a pedigree of championships because a championship because it's Giannis Antetokounmpo. But also understand this, human psychology as well. Dame goes down early in that last basketball game, tears his Achilles. You know you're not going anywhere here. So how much effort are you putting into a game in Indy when you know our season's going to end, whether it's this game or the next game, it doesn't matter. Same thing, you take a look at the Pistons. They let one game go to get away already in the Garden, where they should have been up 2-0 going home. And also understanding this, they blew a 4th quarter lead in their last game, but it doesn't help the fact that if the refs just make a simple call that everybody saw, they win that game and it's 2-2 going back to the Garden. Now, again, for the 2nd time in this series, you were waking up after game number 1 at the Garden going like, man, we should be up a game, not down a game. They had a great performance in game number 2. Now you're doing the same thing where you know it's going to be hard to win 3 games in a row against the New York Knicks. And now you're saying to yourself, all right, now we're in the Garden. That crowd's going to be in a frenzy looking to close us out. And also, we have to still get over the heartbreak of we should have won that basketball game, and we got jobbed by the referees. That's tough.
Yeah.
You look at the line, opened up at 6 at the FanDuel Sportsbook, now sits at 5.5, coming back to their direction, even though across the board about 6 out of every 10 tickets are coming in here on the New York Knicks. I want to give the Pistons a fighting chance. They fought hard this entire series, but it's still a young team trying to learn its way in the playoffs after getting a couple gut punches already and responding. I don't know if I have the comfort level to say they can respond once again tonight in this atmosphere.
Gut punches is a good word, DRS. Game number 1, the New York Knicks go on a 21-0 run to really steal game 1 away from Detroit, despite it being inside MSG. But the Pistons did have nearly a 9-point 4th quarter lead. They led in game number 2 in the 4th quarter. New York came to tie it with just over a minute left. Detroit prevails courtesy of Dennis Schroeder. The Pistons did not lead in game number 4, but fought their way back to just a single point down the stretch before the Knicks held them off. The Pistons, of course, did lead in the 4th quarter with a 2nd quarter and 2nd half rally over the Knicks on Sunday. I'm going to believe in the Pistons once again. Give me the plus 5.5. I also do have Detroit plus 2.5 in the series spread. I am hoping we head back to the Motor City for a 6th game. If it is going to happen, Cade Cunningham is going to be a big reason why. Quickly, DRS, Game 5 tonight in Beantown inside TD Garden. Double-digit spread, 11.5 in favor of the Celtics to clinch this series in 5 games against Orlando. The Magic got theirs in game number 3, and Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner are trying everything in their power to even keep these games close. Does Boston win it in 5 games tonight?
Yeah, I think it might be a smash job up in Boston tonight, too. But also understand this. This game has the ability to get chippy because the Orlando Magic, only way that they can fight back in this series being ultra physical. And if this game starts to not go the direction, what do they have to lose but to just rough it up and see what happens? So watch out, Celtics, who are playing in this game, for some of the rough treatment you might get. But this game should be a double-digit victory for me for the Boston Celtics.
The Magic have tried to display that physicality. Boston has been able to prevail with that 3-1 series lead. Denver and LA at altitude in a series tied at 2 games, all in our 3 sets in the Eastern Conference and in our 3 Game 5s tonight out east Every spot, the home team is favored to clinch this series in only 5 games. A lot to break down and preview, DRS, in this third and final hour.
Absolutely. We'll have some fun. We'll get the people the knowledge they need. A fantastic job by the NBA on scheduling tonight outside of the game that probably everybody wants to watch the most a little bit later. But look, you got 4 games condensed. You got to do your best, which they have. But when we always talk about like our Fave the Public polls here and having some fun, we didn't get too much talk about the Shedeur Sanders prank call situation all that much. But if we did have a poll, who not to prank on the SportsGrid network, what would those choices be, and who would not take the prank kindly here? Do we have any options out here, BSS?
Yeah, well, we have had some prank calls in times past throughout the SportsGrid network featuring some people that you know very well featured here on this show.
Okay.
I would just say that a prank call while people are on air, never really acceptable. Prank call from Jax Ulbrich to Shedeur Sanders, certainly not acceptable. Certainly a dumb and foolish move. You got to wonder, though, if somebody were to be pranked from here on out, how would it be received?
Yeah.
What do you think, DRS?
I don't like, because there's been conversations around there. Like, for me, like, people that know me behind the scenes, I'm freewheeling. I roll with the punches. And quite frankly, when things look like they're on the despair, like, I think like it brings the best out in me. Like, hey, can't see a teleprompter, can't hear anybody. Fantastic show. Let's fight through and get it on. But some people I don't think would take too kindly as more being a little bit more professional in the environment here. But why can't we have fun then? Jokes are what drives society here. I would like everybody here to get pranked at the network at one time or another. It's just good nature. It's good nature stuff.
You know, DRS, I'm a man that holds professional standards, at least in my career and what we do
you
here.
Sound like it.
I think we uphold that pretty well. You are a man that, much like Pete Jensen breaking down the Oilers and the Kings, roots for chaos, right? When chaos is here, Donnie Rightside does indeed thrive.
Best.
So I'm actually a little bit more surprised you are not the guy coming up with pranks in the first place, just kind of relishing when a prank happens when it is occurring.
Yeah, no, look, there's ways you can approach different situations there, but I like to have a good time and have some fun and see where it goes at this point. I'm an easy-going guy at this point on all facets here. Like, have we ever got the angry DRS? Like, I can't work with this guy anymore. Like, you don't really get that too much. Maybe someday we'll get that. I don't know. Like, I don't want it to happen, but you never know when you poke the bear just a little bit too much where the bear actually gets angry. Yeah.
I have never seen I've never seen Donnie fully angry. I have seen you a little bit miffed about what we have to discuss on a morning show all around the sports landscape. I have heard tales, and I'm not with you for a lot of those Pro Football Todays, the NFL Football In-Game Live, whatever the heck they are called on Monday and Thursday, when some of the producers behind the scenes spoil the live action and what you are rooting on. I hear, and I understand it, believe me. I hear you do not take all that kindly to that sort of thing.
Yeah, but that's not really a prank. Like, a good prank would be like a huge scream in the background when absolutely nothing happened. I'm like, oh, they got us good right there. But they're not smart enough to do that right now. It's like, hey, it's like, oh, you know what? There's an interception that just happened. We're 10 seconds behind. We'll watch it now. But a good prank would be a loud cheer in the background when nothing happened. Now that your boy DRS would probably appreciate.
Now you're just giving them clues of what to do next football season. Not sure you want to be doing that, or at least during In-Game Live Pro Baseball Today, starting at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, each and every Sunday beginning in July, I believe, right?
I don't know about that. Maybe, BATR Extended Edition runs all the way through the summer. I'm brainstorming right here. Sounds like a great day. All day
We
programming.
are really coming up with some ideas.
Yeah.
Could be some schedule changes very soon here on the SportsGrid Network. All right, let's talk some NBA playoff action in a Game 5 tonight. Again, DRS, we've got 4 games, 3 of them in the Eastern Conference, where that 5th game could be the series clincher. That could be in Indianapolis, in New York, and in Boston. But in Denver, in our most tightly contested series so far, we are expecting a great Game 5 at altitude. But the team that just stole Game 4 at the buzzer in L.A., returning back home with that home floor advantage at altitude for all that we know. Well, they're the home underdog. Does it make sense? What is the best bet for tonight's Game 5 in Denver between the Clippers and the Nuggets? That's what we asked you all in Fade the Public. What is the best bet for tonight's Clippers versus Nuggets game? The Clippers a 2-point road favorite at altitude. The Nuggets the slight home dog. The over or the under of that total that stands at 208. Total now slightly on the rise by the hook. 208 and a hook currently live on the FanDuel Sportsbook. Most of the public DRS backing LA. Despite the Clippers losing Game 4 at the buzzer, the putback slam and flush just in the nick of time by Aaron Gordon, the people expecting the Clippers to take that 3-2 series lead despite being on the road tonight, but ever so slightly, still about 33.5% of the vote backing the Nugs at home.
Certainly been a playoff preference here for the public is to back the Clippers, and I don't deny that. Like I told you before, like before the series started, I thought it would be a Clippers series. The Clippers got up 2-1. Like, man, if they just can win one more game in LA, this series is over. But I did tell you also that I thought that the series would go after that 4 games. Game number 3 would go to the Clippers, and it did. And then I wanted the Denver Nuggets in game number 4 because I thought they would push that series and end up winning it, and I wanted that series price. But now we find ourselves again in game number 5. Home underdog. Can they win this game? And I find myself saying, I understand why the public is going 38% to 33% because the Clippers to me technically are the better team, but also it's not the Clippers in a environment where it's like, okay, neutral court every game and they win it here. You're at elevation again. They pulled off an extremely good victory in that last game where it's like, oh, heartbreak at the end. We got to win game number 5. And I've said this multiple times already. The winner of this game tonight, whoever it may be, is going to win this series. But the price point doesn't reflect that in the overall series prices where it's like, even if the Nuggets do win tonight, we're still going to have the Clippers, who we know is going to win game number 6, and then game number 7 back in elevation. I don't buy that. So for me, my vote went to the Nuggets at +2 tonight with the 33%, but also at the same time understanding I still think we're going 7 games. Nuggets win tonight, which means I think they win the series, but I do think the Clippers win game number 6. Then it goes back to elevation in game number 7. It's a great series. It's a lot of fun to watch. But for me, I took the Nuggets +2 tonight on that number as my best bet tonight.
DRS, we kind of have talked about the disparity in the odds. Why would Denver, returning home to its home court, needing just to win 2 home games in the final 3 to win this opening round set and advance to the Western Conference semifinals, be even a home dog tonight in Game 5 or a dog in the series outright price? Well, you can kind of make sense of that. The Clippers, even if we disagree, are a slight road favorite tonight and a slight series outright favorite, of course, for this opening round set. But then again, 7 games has the most likely number at -112, and a 7th game in this series would be in Denver. There is a lot to parse through when it comes to that series and that 5th game. Bryan Fonseca joins us later in this 3rd and final hour to break it all down. A full NBA playoff recap and preview all around the association with Bryan Fonseca, live right here on this Tuesday morning on the early line on SportsGrid. We will hit on each and everything we have seen, both from Monday night, what it means for Tuesday, 4 games, a quadruple header of Game 5 action on this Tuesday night in the NBA playoffs. Fonseca, we appreciate the time as always.
Likewise, always happy to be here.
We are very glad to have you here. We start with a look at the Western Conference because in the Eastern Conference, things are a little bit more lopsided, including 3 potential series clinchers tonight in Game 5s. Let's start last night, though, in Golden State. The Warriors take a commanding 3-1 series lead in San Francisco over the Houston Rockets. Jimmy Butler returns. He scores 27, a team high. Golden State holds off Houston down the stretch, 109-106. The Rockets do cover, Fonseca, but I'm not sure there's a lot of confidence left in Houston despite being the 2 seed out west. What did you make of Jimmy Butler's and the Dubs' performance last night? What do you think it means for the remainder of this opening round series?
Yeah, I think Houston kind of blew it. You had multiple opportunities to make this a little bit more interesting and not put yourself in a position where you're down 3-1 heading into Game 5. Game 3, you get one without Jimmy Butler, and now you can't win that one, so you absolutely have to win Game 4 because the Warriors aren't giving up a 3-1 lead to a team who can't really score in the half court, to a team who's going to struggle late in games, to a team who's been in the playoffs as a group for the first time in their career, and to a team who honestly, like, they are the 2nd seed, but I don't think that they're the 2nd best team in the Western Conference. So I think Houston kind of blew it. And with Golden State, I mean, with Jimmy Butler, they're not really a 7 seed. They're probably like a 4 seed or something along those lines. Like they're a much better team. They're a legitimate contender. I don't think Golden State's going to end this in 5 necessarily, but I think if this gets back to Golden State, it's over. I don't think we're getting a game 7.
Yeah, something to watch. You're looking forward to. Maybe just not the Rockets' time just yet. Good regular season, but you go up against a team that's been known to win NBA championships. Some teams, some things certainly don't go in your favor. Let's take a look at maybe the most competitive series so far, and it is in the Western Conference tonight. 10 o'clock start. That's the Clippers and the Nuggets. This line opened up at the FanDuel Sportsbook here, Brian, at -1. Is now at -2 on the live numbers. The total opened up at 208.5, still sitting at 208.5. I've been fascinated with the series. Starting off with me, I thought the Clippers would win the series, but now I see it with 3 games left. There's some wild price points here if you take the Denver Nuggets, as the Clippers are still the team to beat based on the odds market. What are you going to get out of this game, and how close do you think it will be?
Yeah, I'm staying away from all of this. I will watch it. I will consume it. I think it'll be maybe the best game we get today, but I am staying away from a betting standpoint. I mean, I'll look in the prop market. Like I did stare at Norman Powell threes for a little bit because it does feel like, it does feel like he's able to just get that, get those corner threes in particular. But when Denver's defense breaks down, Norman Powell tends to be open, tends to find different ways to be open. And I think he's one of the sneaky, just underrated players in this series who's finding his spots. I think Jamal Murray, while he's getting his points, he could play better and he could score a little bit more efficiently, obviously. But I don't think he's playing poorly. And I do think, because we've seen it in every single series he's played in basically in his career, he's a playoff riser. I think we're getting a Jamal Murray game at some point. Is it tonight? Maybe. But we haven't had that Jamal Murray game yet. We haven't even had like the super sensational Nikola Jokic game yet. Like he's had great games because he's Nikola Jokic, but we haven't had like the out of body 45, 18, and 11 or something along those lines, or like he gets 18 in the fourth quarter, whatever it is. Like we haven't had like something crazy like that yet. And I still am skeptical that the Clippers are going to continue to outplay Denver, because I think they have through 4 games. I think the Clippers have looked like the better team, but when is James Harden going to revert back to who he's been? And is Kawhi Leonard going to remain healthy throughout this series? Like I have multiple questions here in that regard, but I think, man, like there's a lot to potentially like just look at here prop wise, but Norman Powell threes is an interesting one to me. I haven't played it. I haven't played anything from this game. That's probably the first place I'm going to look, though. I just need to do a little bit more of a deep dive on it.
Yeah, 13 points for Jamal Murray in game number 4. It was the only game he had not scored at least 21 so far in this opening round. Set points prop tonight, 20.5. Fonseca, it's a really interesting point, and we really can't fault you for not having a strong feel from the odds perspective, because Donnie and I have been examining the numbers throughout the entirety of this tightly contested series, but also entering game 5. The Nuggets return home at altitude, home floor advantage, and yet a home underdog. The Clippers, a slight favorite for game 5 tonight, despite not having home court advantage, are a slight series outright favorite as well at -164. But Fonseca, as we've noted, Denver just needs 2 home wins. They win this series. And the odds makers have added one additional wrinkle. They expect this series to go the distance. The most likely duration is 7 games with a minus money price. Game 7 would be in Denver. So knowing all of that, and you having a tough time truly finding a discernible edge in who should have the advantage, do you agree with the fact that Clippers are even the series outright favorites to win this opening round series over Denver?
Only from the standpoint that they've looked better so far. I mean, how could you not? But at the same time, do you really want to bet against Nikola Jokic in this, what is now a 3-game series where he has 2 home games potentially? Like, I don't know if you want to do that. And then again, like Jamal Murray, I think he's going to have a game here because he always does. Like even last year where he didn't look great against the Lakers, he still had, I think it was the Lakers series, but he still had like a 30-plus point outing in that series or what have you. Like and obviously clutch shots. So that's another thing here is like fourth quarter offense wise. Like I know the Clippers came back last game. Denver was still able to finish it off, although it was like one of the most insane buzzer beaters I've ever seen that Aaron Gordon had. The dunk, the presence of mind to do that. Like that's like the ultimate role player play. Like that's what a glue guy is supposed to do right there. Is just get a dunk off of what looks like an alley-oop. It's not an alley-oop, it was an air ball with like no time left. I think the Clippers should be favored going forward as far as like as this series progresses, what we think the end result will be. But if Denver wins tonight, then that's going to flip. And I don't think Denver's going to win game 6 necessarily, but like if they win game 5, I think Denver's going to finish this out.
Yeah, I'm with you, Brian, on that too. I do think Denver wins tonight, but I do think the Clippers win game 6, and it's all on the table for game number 7 in elevation with Nikola Jokic as maybe the best player in the world. Should be fun to watch if we get there. But if we resize up the NBA Western Conference market right now, one team has moved on. That's the Oklahoma City Thunder, Brian. They're a minus 180 price to win the West, followed by the Warriors, Timberwolves, Clippers, Lakers, Nuggets, and Rockets. Of those price points that we see on the screen, any bites from you or any teams that you're really intrigued with those price points?
Not really. Oklahoma City looks great. And yeah, honestly, Oklahoma City looks great. And like, I like Denver. I don't think, even at 2,400, I don't think they're going to go on a run here. I'm not sure how well they're going to match up with Oklahoma City if they even get to that point. The Lakers aren't too deep of a hole, and I didn't like their defense anyway. The Clippers, I have concerns about Kawhi Leonard finishing any game, not to mention any series. The Timberwolves, I feel like they're playing above their heads right now. I think defensively, like they have what it takes to really go deep into the playoffs. But is Jaden McDaniels going to continue to average like roughly 20 points a game? Is Naz Reid going to continue to be hyper efficient? Maybe, but they're also playing a Lakers defense that I think is one of the weaker defenses of the good teams, like the good teams in the playoffs right now. The Warriors, do they quite have enough? I worry that like it becomes Steph and Jimmy, and then you need somebody else to step up, and that's somebody else. Like it becomes really tough. Maybe it'll look better against Houston, who has a really good defense. Like maybe it'll look better going forward, but the problem is they would play Minnesota right after this, whose defense is also really good. And with the Thunder, I mean, not that I play it at minus 180. I don't feel the need to do that necessarily. Just play them to win the finals if that's going to be the case. But I think like they're far and away looking like the best team. That's not to say they won't be challenged in round 2, though, because I think they will be.
Yeah, it could be a 6-game series. Yeah. We'll see exactly. But there is a strong reason why Oklahoma City has such a strong price. You're trying to make arguments for teams to compete with the Thunder. It's hard to do. To the Eastern Conference in our 3 games out east tonight. Up next. A triple header of Game 5s tonight in the Eastern Conference, part of the 4 games we have in total on this Tuesday evening in the NBA playoffs. In all 3 of those spots out east in the opening round series around the NBA postseason, all 3 teams at home in Game 5, a home favorite with the chance to clinch the series tonight. Fonseca will be doing a watch party live for every single Knicks playoff game on behalf of the New York Post. So he'll be getting ready for the New York Knicks, hosting the Detroit Pistons tonight in this 5th game with the opportunity to clinch, and then hoping to have more watch parties at least into round 2. Fonseca, that's where we start tonight inside Madison Square Garden. The Knicks up 3-1 over Detroit in a 5.5-point favorite in Game 5 tonight inside the world's most famous arena. Fonseca, I ask you simply, will the Knicks clinch this opening round set with a Game 5 win over the Pistons tonight?
I got to be honest, plus 5.5 is very tempting. Given the nature of this series and how it's gone so far, and the fact that Detroit shot like 2% last game or whatever it felt like from 3, it was terrible. They were shooting 38% for the first 3 games of the series before shooting. I think it was legitimately 24% or something along the lines last game. And Malik Beasley is really due. So he's sort of the guy I'm looking at. I've been playing his over, and he hasn't been hitting. It was actually, he got hooked last time where it needed 13.5, over 13.5, and he finished with 13. That sucked. But I think with Malik Beasley, like he's still somebody who's going to get these looks, and they need him. They need him because their second most preferred shot, other than anything from Cade Cunningham, is a Malik Beasley 3-pointer. Tim Hardaway Jr. has made more of them in the last couple of games, and they probably should have won at least one of these 2 games. I was talking to somebody yesterday on Buckets, where podcast we do at Action Network, and Brandon Anderson was saying, hey, Detroit honestly should be up 4-0. The series should be over. If not for a 4th quarter collapse in Game 1, if not for, the end of Game 3, and if not for Game 4, where some people think they got robbed by what should have been a foul call. And in this game in particular, I am on Karl-Anthony Towns over 1.5 threes. It's really an attempts play. If he's only going to shoot 3 attempts like he tends to do sometimes, then fine. And I don't like trusting. I don't care how well he's playing. Karl Anthony Towns is just a difficult guy to trust. He's been great since he fell apart in game 2 in the second half of that game in particular, and Tobias Harris was made to look like Dennis Rodman defensively against him. But with Karl Anthony Towns, like, he's getting the 3-point volume. Whenever they have to put Jalen Duren on him because Tobias Harris is out or in foul trouble or what have you, he's able to take him to the basket and stretch him out from 3. He gets the looks. The Knicks need him to get those looks. And I think as it pertains to this game, when I look at the props, it's one of the only things I have confidence in. He's hit this a couple straight times, so I think we can run it back for a third and see what happens.
See what happens, too, in the Garden tonight. Why? Because that is a closeout situation. We head over to Indianapolis. Another closeout situation tonight, Brian. That's the Bucks and the Pacers here. 6 o'clock start. This line opened up at 7 at the FanDuel Sportsbook. Now up to 8 here on the live number. 222.5 is the live price here on the total. Do we see a closeout situation? That Damian Lillard injury, too much to overcome now for Giannis and the crew?
I'm on Pacers minus 7.5. I think this is one. I've described it as like, it's a fight where somebody has somebody else on the ropes. This is boxing, not MMA. Somebody has somebody else on the ropes, and it's just, uppercuts and hooks to the body. And the other competitor they don't want to quit, but they're just kind of looking over at the ref, like, to see if they're going to stop the fight because they want to be saved from themselves because they're not going to do it. I think Milwaukee's ready to go, and they're ready to get TKO'd here. Indiana, now without Damian Lillard as well, although he wasn't necessarily helping a ton, but I said it before the series. I said, is Indiana going to be too much, or is it going to be Giannis versus everybody? And unfortunately, it's Giannis versus everybody, but in a way where, like, nobody else on his team is doing anything. And Giannis is doing what he can. The Kyle Kuzma trade is a bust, which is unfortunate because he was playing really, really well last season, not this season. This season was not the season to trade for him. Should have did this a year ago because he was actually quite good for the Wizards previously, not this season. And he's been a zero, essentially. The Milwaukee Bucks they're done. And if they win this game, I'll be surprised. I don't know if I'd like them for game 6. It probably depends on the nature of game 5. And whenever you're in a playoff series and, they're starting like Ryan Rollins for a game, for example, and it's like, what's going on there? Like, why is that happening? Bobby Portis becomes like your third best player, second best player, who I love, but I don't think he should be that necessarily. Gary Trent Jr. has been playing like really, really well from an efficiency perspective, and it hasn't mattered. Like, yeah, I think Indiana's ready to wrap this up.
Yeah, it really does make sense, Fonseca, to lay that 8 with the Pacers tonight. Maybe Giannis, 33.5 points, 12.5 rebounds. If he has a Herculean effort, can keep Milwaukee close, but that might be that. Our third and final game 5 tonight in the Eastern Conference. In the other Garden, inside TD Garden. The Celtics up 3-1 as the reigning NBA champs against Paolo Banchero, Franz Wagner, and I guess some other Magic players are out there as well. Boston at 11.5-point favorite, Fonseca, for game 5. You see the spread, you see the money line. The odds makers are telling all of us what we would anticipate. The Celtics should win this game and clinch this series. The question then becomes, how comfortably will the Celtics do so?
I mean, given the nature of this series, given the physicality that they're complaining about, which that's not very champion-like in my opinion. It's just, come on, complaining about the physicality, being like, oh, if you want to fight, we can fight. And it's like, no, it's just a physical brand of basketball. You guys just happen to be getting hurt. Like, it's fine. Kristaps Porzingis wasn't elbowed in the face on purpose. I know it wasn't a first blood match, but like, Goga Batadze didn't even know he was there. He was trying to play hard, get a rebound. I don't know if Boston wins this game. Plus 11.5 is very tempting, but Orlando can't score, and that's why I'm not going to play it. I will play Paolo Banchero over 29.5 points. He's gotten that almost every game this series. He's getting 25 field goal attempts every game this series. Plus, he's getting 34 free throw attempts over the course of 4 games. And on top of that, what else is Orlando going to do offensively? So I like Paolo Banchero in this spot. And I think if Jalen Suggs were healthy, this would be 2-2 right now.
It is really interesting because the Magic do bring that physicality. We'll see how close game 5 is tonight. DRS, enjoy the money line. Fonseca and I round out these 3 hours now. A quadruple header, that's 4 games in the NBA playoffs tonight on this Tuesday. 3 series clinching spots, all in the Eastern Conference. for the Pacers in Indy, for the Knicks inside MSG, and for the reigning champs, the Celtics, inside TD Garden. Bryan Fonseca here for a third consecutive segment to round out our 3 hours on this Tuesday morning on TEL. Fonseca, as we pay things forward, there's a chance that we have 5 teams already on to round number 2 in the NBA playoffs by the end of tonight. That's what the odds makers expect. The Thunder already swept the Grizzlies out west. Last night, the Cavaliers by 55, sweeping Miami in game number 4 in South Beach. So we update those NBA championship odds. And despite what we have seen so far in the postseason, really, Fonseca, for the last 3 months or so of this NBA campaign, there's been a consistent theme. A tier of 3, 2 teams out east, 1 team from the Western Conference, and then everybody else. The Oklahoma City Thunder, a minus 180 favorite to win the Western Conference, are a plus 150 favorite to win the NBA championship. Now a $0.50 in front of the Celtics. In the Cavaliers, the 1 seed out east, the only team in 3 digits, but with a 5-1 price or shorter. Let me ask you the question first, Fonseca, this way. Will our NBA champion this year come from those 3 teams with a 5-1 price or better? Thunder, Celtics, or Cavs?
Now, it's hard to say no, and I think Cleveland is the one that I'm intrigued by the most, because if you're giving me plus 490 on a team that right now, so if I'm looking ahead, one, Cleveland has already taken care of business. Shout out to both 1 seeds, honestly, for not messing around a ton and just really putting away the Memphis Grizzlies and the Miami Heat. The Memphis Grizzlies obviously better, but Cleveland took care of business regardless. And without Darius Garland. But he's going to be back. It feels like if Cleveland was in a more dire situation, Darius Garland just might be playing, but they didn't need him to close us out. And then when you look at just the rest of the Eastern Conference, we know how the Knicks match up against them, and the Knicks probably aren't going to get there anyway because of Boston. And with Boston in particular, they have, like, Jaylen Brown's had some knee issues that are worth monitoring. Jason Tatum's had the wrist, and Kristaps Porzingis is Kristaps Porzingis. He can get hurt at any time, unfortunately, and that's just part of the KP experience. So as it pertains to Cleveland, I think, one, Cleveland has matched up well with Boston during the regular season. Not that that always matters as it pertains to the playoffs, but it's not nothing. And Boston may not be as healthy, assuming Darius Garland is back and ready to go. Cleveland is also deeper. I think Cleveland could absolutely win that series. They're going to have home court. I think home court is going to matter more for them than it is for Boston, because Boston has won a ton of playoff road games, has a lot of playoff road experience. Cleveland hasn't, but I think Cleveland's legit. I've been saying it all year. I took them over and the win total. I took alts. I thought that they could be a 60-win team, and they were better than that. I think they're legitimate, and I think they can beat Boston. And if I think they can beat Boston, that means I think they can get to the finals, and that means I think they could win the championship. So I think they're worth a shot at plus 490.
It's a great point, Fonseca, because where the Cavaliers are positioned right now in the odds board, but what we have seen with them in actual basketball games, they are the position of value because of how short the numbers are and really have been the entirety of this season around OKC and Boston. You made the point earlier, it's really tough to kind of find some of that value out west because everything runs through Oklahoma City. Even the 2 teams right now up 3-1 on the other side of the Western Conference bracket, that being Golden State and Minnesota, trying to stack up there. Let me just ask you this quickly. So you expect it to be the Cavaliers and the Celtics, and you think Cleveland can win that Eastern Conference Finals matchup. How much of a test will more than likely the Knicks and the Pacers provide for more than likely the Celtics and the Cavs?
I think the Knicks, I don't know. They haven't looked awesome in this Pistons series. I give them credit for closing out games, but this is a series that, I mean, and look, they could have the game 5 where it's like, oh, finally they actually blow this team out. But they have not matched up well with Boston for multiple seasons at this point. And this time around, even if Boston's a little bit injured, I still think Boston could win that series in 5 games. I think maybe the Knicks push it to 6, but that's just one that's been a pain for the Knicks all season long. And Boston generates threes like nobody's business, and the Knicks have a tough time defending 3-point range. Now, with Indy, I think they make that series with Cleveland pretty interesting because I think Indy could actually push that to 6 or 7. And you could even get me to be like, hey, Indy plus 6,000 to win the title. Like, that's not absolutely absurd to me. I don't think they're beating Cleveland, but I think they could push them really well.
Fonseca, thank you. The early line returns tomorrow, 8 a.m. Eastern.